Have you ever noticed people who seem calm, don't talk much, and don't try to stand out, yet somehow their presence feels incredibly strong? They're not busy showing off on social media, they don't seem desperate for validation, and they're not trying to prove anything to anyone. And yet, almost everyone around them respects them. That's what we call quiet confidence. In this video, we're going to talk about why people with quiet confidence tend to be mentally stronger from a psychological standpoint. In today's always online world, almost everyone is competing to showcase achievements, flaunt how busy they are, or at least appear like everything is going great in public. Likes, comments, and followers slowly turn into measures of self-worth, as if the more successful you look, the more valuable you are. But in the middle of all that noise, there's a different kind of person. They move quietly. They don't say much, but they're solid. They're not obsessed with building an image, yet these are often the people with the strongest mental resilience. They don't need to talk much to show who they are. So what does quiet confidence actually mean? Let's start with the basics. Quiet confidence doesn't mean you're shy. It doesn't mean you're antisocial, and it doesn't mean you can't connect with people. It's also not about being an introvert or an extrovert. Quiet confidence is a mature form of self-confidence, one that doesn't need to be announced to the world and doesn't need to be proven with words. Imagine someone walking into a room without raising their voice, without seeking attention, without feeling the need to be the center of the spotlight. And yet, somehow, their presence is immediately felt. People notice them. No extra effort, no showing off, no drama. That's quiet confidence. According to psychological research, quiet confidence is a form of self-esteem that comes from deep self-understanding. People with quiet confidence know who they are, understand their abilities, and are also aware of their limitations. Most importantly, they don't need other people to confirm their worth. Validation from within is already enough. This raises an important question. Why don't people with quiet confidence need validation from others? The answer lies in how they build their sense of self-worth. Most people, especially in the age of social media, measure their value through external feedback. How many likes they get, how much praise they receive, or how much recognition they earn. Their self-worth rises and falls based on other people's reactions. People with quiet confidence are different. They have an internal locus of control. In other words, their happiness, satisfaction, and sense of validation come from within, not from the outside world. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that individuals with strong internal confidence tend to be more emotionally stable and less easily influenced by social pressure. When someone constantly seeks external validation, they're unknowingly handing control of their happiness over to other people. And that's dangerous, because you can never control what others think, say, or feel about you. But when confidence comes from within, you're in full control of your own life. And that kind of control is powerful. So how can you recognize someone with quiet confidence? There are a few clear signs. First, they're comfortable with who they are. They're not busy pretending to be someone else, hiding their flaws, or building a fake persona. On the contrary, they're fairly open about their weaknesses because they understand that imperfections are part of what make them unique and human. Second, they stay calm under pressure. When situations get chaotic and others panic, they tend to remain composed. That doesn't mean they never feel anxious or stressed, but they're used to facing challenges with a cool head and a clear mind. Third, they prove themselves through actions, not words. There are no grand promises or exaggerated claims. They don't feel the need to explain who they are. They let their results and consistency speak for them. Fourth, and this is perhaps the most interesting part, they don't make external recognition their main source of motivation. Appreciation feels good, and praise is nice, but people with quiet confidence keep moving forward and stay consistent even when no one is watching. Their strongest drive comes from within. Now let's look at the opposite side. What happens when someone relies too heavily on external validation? First, they become extremely vulnerable to other people's opinions. A single criticism or a lack of the response they were hoping for can immediately bring their mood down. Their self-esteem rises and falls like a roller coaster, entirely dependent on how others react. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that dependence on external validation, especially through social media, is linked to a higher risk of anxiety, depression, and burnout. Teenagers and young adults who constantly seek online validation tend to have lower self-esteem and are more vulnerable to mental health issues. Second, they slowly lose their sense of self. When life becomes focused only on what others expect and what looks impressive in the public eye, people can lose touch with their own values and purpose. Life starts to feel like being a puppet controlled by external expectations, and that's exhausting, because other people's expectations never end and are always changing. Now we come to the most important, and for many people, the most relevant part: how to actually build quiet confidence within yourself. The good news is that quiet confidence isn't something you're born with, and it's not reserved for a select few. It's a skill. And like any other skill, quiet confidence can be learned, practiced, and developed over time. So if you still find yourself needing validation, feeling easily influenced by other people's opinions, or often feeling like you're not enough, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It simply means you're in the process. And yes, that process takes time, but the result is absolutely worth it. The first step, and the most fundamental foundation, is getting to know yourself. Many people want to be confident, but they haven't truly taken the time to understand who they are. They're so busy adjusting to their environment, social standards, and other people's expectations that they forget to ask themselves, who am I really? What values do I stand for? And what actually matters in my life? Take time to reflect. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be through journaling, moments of quiet on your own, or simply having an honest conversation with yourself. Ask simple but meaningful questions. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are you proud of? And what often makes you feel insecure? When you're brave enough to be honest with yourself, that's where you begin building real confidence, not the kind built on image or appearances, but something genuine. By getting to know yourself, it also becomes easier to accept yourself as you are, with all your strengths and flaws. And this is crucial, because self-acceptance is the core of quiet confidence. People who truly accept themselves aren't busy trying to prove anything to the world. The second step is to stop comparing yourself to others, especially on social media. We live in a time where comparison happens almost every day. Every scroll, every story, every post, we unconsciously compare our lives to someone else's. Remember this important truth. What you see on Instagram or TikTok is not someone's full life. It's just the highlight reel. You never see their bad days, their failures, their doubts, or the insecurities they keep behind the scenes. So when you compare your life to what you see on social media, you're really comparing your real, everyday life to the best moments of someone else's life. And that's clearly unfair. Comparison, quite literally, steals your happiness. People with quiet confidence focus on their own journey. They understand that everyone has their own timing, path, and process. You're not behind. You're simply moving through your own phase of life. The third step is practicing self-validation, and this is crucial. Self-validation means learning to recognize, respect, and appreciate yourself without waiting for approval from others. When you finish a task, pause for a moment and acknowledge the effort you put in. When you make it through a difficult day, recognize it as a win, even if it seems small. Many people downplay their own achievements because they feel they're not big enough or not worth celebrating. But if you don't value the effort you've made, why would you expect anyone else to? People with quiet confidence can be their own best cheerleaders. They're not against praise, but they don't depend on it. The fourth step is building authentic relationships. Not relationships based on image, popularity, or status, but relationships where you can be yourself without wearing a mask. Relationships where you're not afraid of being judged and don't feel pressured to always look perfect. People who truly care about you will accept you not because of your achievements or how successful you appear, but because of who you are. A healthy environment plays a major role in developing quiet confidence. If you remain in environments that constantly belittle, compare, or pressure you, it becomes very difficult to ever feel like you're enough. Now we come to the biggest challenge: How do you maintain quiet confidence amid the constant pressure of social media, which keeps bombarding us with unrealistic standards of perfection? The first step is realizing that social media is just a tool, not a measure of your life's value. You should be the one controlling how you use it, not the other way around. If every time you open social media you feel anxious, jealous, or not enough, that's a sign you need to change the way you consume it. This doesn't mean you have to disappear completely, but you do need to become more intentional about what you're seeing, what you're absorbing, and how it's affecting your mindset. Trends like quiet dating, which have been getting a lot of attention lately, reflect one clear reality. Many people are tired of living overly exposed lives. They're realizing that not everything needs to be announced, not every moment needs to be posted, and not every form of happiness needs a public audience. This signals a shift toward a more private, more authentic, and more peaceful way of living, and that aligns closely with the idea of quiet confidence. The second step is reducing screen time and increasing quality time. Quality time with yourself or with the people closest to you. When you reduce your exposure to social pressure, you create space to listen to your own inner voice. You become more aware of what you truly need and what genuinely matters in your life, not just what the outside world says is important. Quiet confidence grows in calm, quiet spaces, not in the noise of constant validation. Now we've reached the final part, the section that brings together everything we've discussed about quiet confidence and how it shows up in everyday life. If there's one core idea to remember from all of this, it's that true confidence always comes from within, not from other people's approval, not from praise, and not from how impressive you look on social media. Quiet confidence isn't about being the most visible or the most perfect. It's about feeling enough as you are without needing to prove anything to the world. People with quiet confidence aren't busy shouting for attention, don't feel the need to show off, and don't live their lives constantly explaining who they are. They know who they are, and that's more than enough. When you stop relying on external validation, many things in your life begin to change. First, life feels much calmer. You're no longer anxious about waiting for other people's responses, no longer constantly overthinking their judgments, and no longer living inside other people's heads. You start to truly show up in your own life, enjoying the process and focusing on the things you can actually control. Second, you become more authentic. Because you're no longer trying to please everyone, you become braver about being yourself. You're more honest about the values you stand for, more willing to say no to things that don't align with your principles, and more confident in the decisions you make. People won't always agree with your choices, and that's okay. People with quiet confidence don't need everyone to like them. Third, you become mentally stronger. Criticism no longer knocks you down instantly, and negative comments no longer shatter your sense of self-worth. That's not because you're immune to pain, but because the foundation of your confidence isn't built on other people's opinions. It's built on self-understanding, self-acceptance, and respect for the process you're going through. This also doesn't mean you never feel low or exhausted. People with quiet confidence are still human. They still feel sad, disappointed, or uncertain. The difference is that when they fall, they know how to get back up without needing something external to lean on. They know how to strengthen themselves from the inside. So the question comes back to you. Do you already have quiet confidence, or are you still in the process of building it? And honestly, nothing about this is instant. Quiet confidence is shaped slowly, through life experience, through failure, through reflection, and through the courage to be honest with yourself. You can start with small things. Start by acknowledging the effort you've already made, no matter how small it seems. Start by stopping the habit of comparing yourself to others. Start by accepting yourself as you are. Practice self-validation, listen to your inner voice, and choose environments that support your growth, not ones that constantly make you feel like you're not enough. Remember this one important thing. You don't need anyone's permission to become the best version of yourself, and you don't need anyone's validation to feel worthy. Your value is not determined by the number of likes, comments, or public recognition you receive. Your value is defined by what you believe about yourself. If this discussion resonated with you or helped you in any way, feel free to share your experience in the comments. Let us know what phase of life you're in right now. And if you found this video valuable, don't forget to like it and share it with friends who might need to hear this message. Subscribe to the Upgradia channel for content on mental growth, self-development, and more intentional living. Stay strong, stay authentic, and see you in the next video.